What's going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. Joined by my two boys, Gary, JT. Good looking fellas on this show today. We got a nice 8-game slate, ready to pick some winners. It's April DFS, so we know how crazy injury news and how shorthanded some teams are. But hey, there's always money to be made. Excited to dive into it with the two guys. JT, I got to head over to you first, man. You're looking good over there. Baseball, less than a week away. Life's good, JT. What could be better? So talk to the people, let them know what's going on in your life.
Yeah, what a beautiful Sunday. And how blessed am I? Last night, Mangone says, "Hey, I got something going on. By the way, go ahead and DM Mangone and let him know congratulations on the sex, because I'm pretty sure that's what he's doing instead of the show. And that makes perfect sense. But how excited. I get to hang out with Gary. I get to hang out with Title, who I started calling just a few minutes ago. El Tito, El Tito. I love it. And we've got baseball on Thursday, and we've got some surprises in store for you that maybe I'll release in my Monday brunch article tomorrow. Maybe, perhaps, there's a new piece of content coming. I can't say anything about it, but something that you might be getting if you're a subscriber, and maybe even early on if you're not a subscriber but are thinking about it, something you're going to get for completely free the first week of the season, maybe the first month, once a week. We'll see. And I couldn't be more excited about it. So we got some late season NBA where I think there's a massive edge for people like us who are looking at every game. Gary breaks these things down every single day in the free article, most days in the playbook. It's just a great time of year. Just a great time of year.
JT, you're getting me a little excited over there. Because that was the first time I've heard of it. I can start getting hints and start guessing at stuff. But man, definitely be on the lookout for that. I'm very excited for MLB this year. Thursday, we have an opening day show. I'll be on with Holden DC talking about it. JT will be on shows. Gary, they'll be on playbooks, content. Look out for what JT's doing. So baseball is right around the corner. NBA playoffs coming up, which I absolutely love. Masters, UFC. We got a big pay-per-view this week. I mean, NASCAR's locking. Just locked a minute ago. I'm in those streets. So much going on right now. Head over to Run for Your Sports. Check it all out. Gary, baseball, same thing can be said about you. I know you look forward to it every single year. Braves, both of you guys. I mean, you guys could talk baseball all day, but if you want to talk some baseball, talk some baseball. If you want to talk about your Sunday, how the house is going, let the people know what's going on in Gary's world.
Yeah, so I mean, I really can't wait for this Thursday. I mean, it's been a week. You know, they pushed it back due to the lockout. I'm going to be diving right in. I think I'm going to focus a little bit more on FanDuel this year, just because I found some success there late in the year last year, and hopefully that winning formula stays true this year. But yeah, definitely excited. Definitely excited to see my Braves just smack around the Mets as usual. They're getting all the Mets fans getting their hopes up. I'm glad JT Hayes made a decision years ago to hop off the Mets train and come on over to the Braves fandom. You definitely do love to see it. But yeah, get off the baseball train here. We're gonna crush it this year. I mean, we're gonna have the best MLB content in the industry. And I don't even know what these surprises are that JT is mentioning here, but I'm definitely excited for it. It's just going to be helping out the people even more. And, we're just going to crush. And, as far as tonight's slate, doesn't look like we're waiting on too much news, but you never know. It is a Sunday. It is the last week of NBA. I'm sure there will be some curveballs thrown at us during or after the show, but definitely looking forward to diving in it with you guys.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, so the slate locks, why this show is at 3:45 instead of 4:45 Eastern. I assume most people watching know the slate locks an hour earlier on FanDuel and DraftKings, 6 p.m. Eastern, 2 games start, and then after that, 7 p.m. Eastern is when the games get going after the first two. On Yahoo, it's just 7 p.m. Eastern. They cut the 8-game slate down to 6 games. So that's the broad overview. That's why we're on earlier. But hey, when news hits and we're not on the show, as always, we'll be in Discord answering questions. All the content will be up on the site. So we got you covered as always. Head over to Run for Your Sports. Check it out. Hit that like button. Hit that big red subscribe button for us. We appreciate it. Pair by in chat saying, take it easy there, Gary, on my Mets. West Coast Gem talking about the Padres. So, yep, baseball, it'll be here sooner, a lot sooner than we think. I mean, less than a week, but we're talking basketball. We got some winners to pick. Big slate. So I'm going to say we dive right into it. The first game of the night, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Cleveland Cavaliers, 6 p.m. Eastern. We have a 224 total, and Philly is favored by 4. Going to the injury report, Joel Embiid is questionable. That's obviously big news. If any of this stuff that I say isn't updated, you guys let me know. I haven't been digging in the NBA all day, but see, Embiid is questionable right now. As far as the Cleveland side, Jared Allen, Mobley, Colin Sexton, Dean Wade, they're all still out. Rondo is questionable. So Embiid being questionable in this game, obviously we'll get this news before lock. That definitely is important. Outside of that, Karis LeVert, 6'5", his prices went up a little bit. We know all the minutes Garland's playing. JT, I'll head over to you first. What are you seeing in this game?
This is potentially the biggest news of the slate here because with Embiid, and it's a midday questionable, but Doc Rivers has been downright awful about this season. It really doesn't matter when they say that Embiid is questionable. A lot of times he's played with this, and with the Cavs being shorthanded without Mobley and Allen down around the rim, this is a matchup that he could smash and go for 70 and be the highest scoring guy on the slate. If he misses, you've got Harden at, I think, 10.4 on DraftKings. Tobias Harris has actually been awoken from his season-long fucking slumber and actually been playing better lately. So I think Harris is an option. Maxey is priced down. Don't have a whole lot of interest on the Cavs here. Now that Karis LeVert is playing big minutes, Rondo questionable. Looks like he's trending towards playing. I think we'll see that 40-minute a night outing for Darius Garland come down just a little bit. Price did go down here a bit, but with some of the value at the guard spots in some of these later games, I think the news here on Embiid is pretty big because I'll have a lot of interest in this game if he misses. And if he does not, then I think really he's probably the only piece that I'll be interested in from this first game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Embiid, if he like the questionable tag, we see all year questionable tags, even when they turn probable, go underlooked all the time. And I think that'd be a mistake with Embiid. I think the ownership's going to already be low. 11.8K against a Cleveland team without their bigs. Man, if this game's close, which Vegas indicates it will be, he has an absolute massive ceiling and the ownership won't be crazy. So I definitely like that call from you. Gary, go to you. Talk about Embiid, if he's in, if he's out, and then talk about the Cleveland side.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the projections from a a high level here. I mean, Embiid's got a projection that's 6 or 7 points from what I'm seeing, higher than the next best guy. So I mean, like JT said, with these bigs out for Cleveland, if he is in, I mean, he's going to be in my lineup. I mean, I think I can say that confidently. I think this is just an absolute smash spot for him here. But yeah, so if he's out, I'll definitely have some interest in these other pieces. But I would expect him to play here. Like JT said also, I mean, Embiid's tended to play a lot during these Q tags this year. Yeah, and I definitely wouldn't have any interest in any of the other Philly guys. I mean, Harden, with the two of them on the court, his upside's a little bit limited from what we've seen in the past. Definitely no other interest on the Philly side. And on the Cleveland side, I mean, Garland, I mean, he's been doing a lot for this team, but he's super expensive in this spot. I don't mind him on FanDuel. He's 8,700 on FanDuel. So, I mean, I guess I could be talked into him on that site, but definitely not a core piece for me on either site. And I don't hate going back to Moses Brown either in this spot. He's 4,500 on DraftKings. I think he's going to go overlooked in this spot with some other center value that we have later on that I'm not really truly invested in at this point. So yeah, 4,500 for Moses Brown on DraftKings. He's 4,900 on FanDuel. Probably wouldn't go to him on FanDuel, but definitely like him on DraftKings.
Yeah, that Moses Brown call is interesting because on this slate, center, I mean, we always talk about a lot. Center is deep on this slate for sure. Two centers will be used in a lot of lineups. We're talking about Embiid too. There's Cat, there's JaVale McGee, a couple other ones. So yeah, I think Moses Brown gets overlooked too. He has a ceiling, good call there. Then Harden, I'm with you. I don't think I played Harden once on Philly. If I have, it's only been once. It's still Embiid show. The usage is double-double. The ceiling is just way higher for Embiid. So it's always Embiid or bust pretty much for me. In playoff time, obviously, Harden's going to have to do more minutes of there. Maybe we look at him a little bit, but I haven't really played him as much either. So I think it's Embiid or pretty much bust on Philadelphia if he plays as well. All right, let's get into the next game. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for us, please. We got Coach in the house. We got Robert, West Coast Gem. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us on this Sunday. The True Grinders playing April NBA DFS. Still 100K up top on DraftKings. Still the 50K, 555. So we got the True Grinders in chat trying to make some money. We appreciate it. And yeah, all three of us in the streets as well, trying to make some money as always. Next game on the slate, the second game that locks at 6 p.m. Eastern, the New York Knicks, Orlando Magic, 216.5 total. The Knicks are favored by 4.5. Going to the injury report, and it's a long one for the Knicks. Julius Randle, Kemba, Derrick Rose, Nerlens Noel, Cam Reddish are all out. Quentin Grimes, Miles McBride are questionable. Going over to the Orlando side, it's another long one over here. Wendell Carter, Jalen Suggs, Bol, Jonathan Isaac are all out. Yes, Bol, Isaac, those guys haven't been in, but I'm just reading it all off. As far as questionable tags, Cole Anthony, Franz Wagner, Admiral Schofield are all questionable. So pretty big news in this game. Big news is the questionable sides, Cole Anthony and stuff. A lot of people are out on both teams. So like Obi Toppin, 5.2K, RJ Barrett, 7.9, Quickly 5.4. I think all these guys are interesting. As far as the Orlando side, like I think Mo Wagner's fine, a Fultz is fine, but it only could get better if these questionable tags are ruled out. So I'll go to you, Gary. There's some game theory wise because only 2 games lock right away, and then we have a whole hour break to get in the other part of the slate. So you're going to lock yourself into too many of these? Talk about it, because I think this is an interesting game.
Yeah, so I'm going to start on the Knicks side here first. So, I mean, RJ Barrett is popping in every projection model that I can see. I guess the small forward position is a little thin today, as usual. He's 7,900, but man, I just don't ever play this guy, especially when he's chalky. I mean, and he's 7,300 on FanDuel, man. That's a low price over there. It's tough. I don't know. FanDuel is a little tougher to get away from at 7,300, but 7,900 on DraftKings. I don't think I'm going to go there on this slate. I just prefer other spins and other players in his range over there. And 6,900 for Alec Burks, like no, thank you. Obi Toppin, 5,200. I mean, he's been playing a lot of minutes. He's power forward eligible only, but I mean, even in his minutes in the last game, he had 30 minutes. In the last game, he only had 33 DraftKings points. I just don't see a ton of upside at that price. I guess he's a safer cashy type play, but long story short, I don't think I'm going to have any Knicks in my lineup, as funny as that sounds. And, like I said, RJ Barrett's going to be extremely popular. He's popping in projections. And on the Orlando side, man, I mean, I think the last game is when they, the second half, they rested like all their starters. Like, I mean, man, they're just tank season this late in the year. They want that number 1 pick. I mean, and it's completely dependent on this Franz Wagner and Cole Anthony news. I'm definitely not going to play either one of them if they're in. I mean, if they're in, I literally have no interest in this game. But if they're out, I would have some interest in Mo Wagner. I still can't pay 6,400 for Bamba on the slate. Fultz still seems to have some sort of minutes restriction on him. I'm not going to go there. He's only playing 20 minutes. So yeah, if everybody's in for the Magic, I'm just going to be completely off this game.
Yeah, makes sense. I think their Magic side is easier to fade. I like the Knicks side more than you, but it definitely makes sense. JT, what are your thoughts on these Knicks? RJ Barrett specifically, he's going to carry out a pretty good amount of ownership. And then the Magic news, we're waiting on some. Does it change anything on the slate for you?
Not the Magic news. I think, Gary made the point here where the starters minutes have been very, very low recently. Just not sure what they're going to do. They have no interest in winning. And that reduces my interest in the Knicks here because they're basically out of it. I mean, I don't think they've been officially eliminated, but you're talking miracles here for them to be able to get into the play-in. If they are, I was looking at it now, and like I said, I don't think they've been officially eliminated, but
yeah, I don't think they're going to get in either. I think yeah,
they're pretty much out. They've shut Randall down. I don't know that you'll see him. It'll be an interesting offseason, another interesting offseason for the Knicks. But the thing is, we have some value in some of these other games that I think are better in terms of certainty, because I don't think, even though RJ Barrett's been playing big minutes, I don't think that Thibodeau is going to keep running him out 42, 43 minutes. I mean, he faced a lot of criticism earlier in the year for having him playing late in games that didn't matter. And now it's got to be all about next season for these guys. So I looked a little bit at Mitchell Robinson, but you make the point that I think there's 2 centers that are priced above him that are significantly better. And there may be 3 or 4 centers below Mitchell Robinson that are significantly better than him in terms of both projection and certainty in terms of opportunity, because again, Thibodeau, this guy can foul out. Robinson that price point is not for me. So I think I'll be very low on this game. If I have a Nick in my lineup, it'll be just one, and it'll be very, very low percentage.
Yeah, makes sense. 2 games. Those are the first 2 that lock at 6 p.m. Eastern, then they go to 7 p.m. So for these 2, a lot of their lineups are going to have a lot of spots for these next 6 games is what it sounds like for sure. Hit that like button for us. Hit that subscribe button for us. Matthew Moore, Richie Smalls. We got Tyler from the bedside. What's going on, Tyler? Hope all is going well. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us, as we always say. Hit the like, hit that big red subscribe button. Next game on the slate, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Houston Rockets. Big boy total, 244. Minnesota is favored by 13.5. Going to the injury report on the Rockets, Christian Wood, Dennis Schroeder, Eric Gordon, they are all out. Pretty big news. As far as the Minnesota side, Jaden McDaniels out, Malik Beasley is questionable. We talk about it all year. We just love picking on Houston. They don't play any defense. They play fast-paced games. I think Katz, Naz Reid, Vanderbilt, D. Russ, Pat Bev, I could see all of them having pretty good games. As far as the other side with Houston, man, KPJ is playing insane basketball. The price has finally came up at 8.4K. So yeah, I'll go to you, Gary. Talk about KPJ and that price tag. Talk about the Rockets. And then, yeah, Minnesota side, they're going to probably carry some ownership. Talk about how you're going to navigate that.
Yeah, so I think on DraftKings, with Kevin Porter and Jalen Green have been going nuts the last 3 games, but they played the Kings twice and they played San Antonio before that. I think their prices are way too much here in this matchup, even in the total. I actually bet the under in this game earlier in the day. I just think Minnesota's going to destroy this team here. I don't see a way that they're going to keep it close. And 7K for Sengun, like, no, thank you. Jay Shante. I don't see myself having any Rockets in my DraftKings player pool tonight. And maybe on FanDuel, Kevin Porter Jr., he's 8,700 over there. Jalen Green is a little bit more acceptable on FanDuel, 6,700. I think he would probably be my only interest on that site. I think it's very weird. It's a huge total, but the spread is also massive here. So I'm not going to have any Houston in my lineups on DraftKings. And on the Minnesota side, this is the absolute nut matchup. But like I said, I don't think this game is going to stay close. I don't think these Minnesota starters are going to see their final rotation. But Cat is cheap. He's 9,600. He's definitely my favorite option in this game. I think he can still get 50 plus in 3 quarters in this matchup. We just saw Damian Jones go for 50 plus against this, maligned front court for Houston the last 2 games. So he can definitely put up 50 plus here. He is definitely one of my favorite spins on the slate still with the massive total. And I don't mind Ant Edwards either at his price tag at 7,700. But he would probably be where the buck stops. This game is very weird to me. It's got a massive, massive total. But I think I'm going to be underweight compared to the field outside of Cat and Ant.
Yeah, makes sense. The Houston side is all priced up. Like, I probably won't have any Houston either. I think you could do a KPJ or something. They've just been playing really good. The shots are there, but yeah, their price is definitely reflecting it. As far as Towns, yeah, if he gets that last rotation, man, I do not see how he doesn't absolutely smash, and he could even smash in 3. JT, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, you see those Houston prices, that's what 2 straight games against the Sacramento Kings can do to a team, right? All these guys smash. This is not a Sacramento Kings team, though. Wolves, much better. They do play faster, certainly, but I don't expect any of these Rockets to have the same amount of success that they had against the Kings. And then on the Wolves side, they still have a chance to sneak out of the play-in. They still have a chance to catch up to the Nuggets, who are currently the 6th seed in the West. Want to say thank you to Robert there, letting me know that the Knicks have been eliminated. I thought it was real close. But so for me, it's really on the Wolves side. Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns, great play here in this matchup. I think even in 3 quarters and a little bit, he can get 60 fantasy points. And we've seen teams do that, and their centers do that against this Rockets team, the better team. So I think he's in play. Some of these other guys, I think you can certainly mix in. And then you just keep in mind that Finch will use a deeper rotation. So you probably have Vanderbilt starting, but you might see some Taurean Prince. You might see some Naz Reid. And I think some of those guys are a little bit less predictable here, even though it's a fantastic matchup as to who gets that fuller backup run and then who gets that potential blowout run, which could be 8-9 minutes in the fourth quarter.
I like it for sure. Yep. 3 games down, 8 games on this slate. We'll go right to the next game, 7 p.m. Eastern. So I'll just say the whole breakdown on the slate for the time. So you don't have to keep saying 2 games at 6 p.m. Eastern. Then we got 4 games at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then 2 games or 1 game 9 o'clock, 1 game 9:30. So 2 games 6, 4 games 7, 1 game 9, 1 game 9:30. That's how the slate breaks down. Next game on the slate, we have big news in it. 7 p.m. Eastern, the Portland Trailblazers, San Antonio Spurs, 231 total. San Antonio is favored by 14.5. On the injury report, Doug McDermott is out. DeJounte Murray is questionable, though, which obviously big news on the slate. Also could be a reason to backload a little bit and not play those first 2 games as much if we don't have this news by then. As far as the Portland side, as it has been pretty much all year, the injury report is massive. Dame, Anthony Simons, Nurkic, Josh Hart, Nasir Little, Justice Winslow, Eric Bledsoe, Trendon Watford, Joe Ingles are all out. JT, I'll go to you in this game. That's a lot of Portland people that are out. And it's worth noting, man, Goen sent something to me earlier about Drew Eubanks, I believe, and Brandon Williams. I know Drew Eubanks for sure was on the 10-day contract, obviously, and it expired. And I'm going to pull up this tweet from him because it was pretty important. I don't know if either of you have heard anything since.
Yeah, I think they did resign.
10-day contracts for Chris Dunn and Eubanks with Portland expired today. Since there are fewer than 10 days left in the season, they can't sign another 10-year deal or 10-day deal. Have they done anything with that? Because that's also interesting.
Yeah, Eubanks. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, do you know for sure, JT?
Yeah, they signed a hardship deal with the Blazers for the rest of the year. That came out about 4 hours ago.
Chris Dunn, Andrew Eubanks?
Yep.
Okay, so those two. All right, those two are playing. That's what I said. I haven't kept up with this whole time. Still, that's a lot of bodies they have, or they still don't have, like a Ben McLemore, Greg Brown, JT. Any interest in those guys? And then talk about San Antonio and this DeJounte news.
Yeah, this was very painful the other night when DeJounte got ruled out after lock as one of the
no swaps
guys on the slate, and it was kind of hard to pivot there based on his salary versus what was left. But I struggled. I looked at this game and I said, all right, can I find a way where I can think that the Blazers will keep this close? I just can't find any evidence of that. It's not that the Spurs are good. It's just that this Blazers team is so bad. And when they do play well, the guys that have been capable of playing well, guys like Brandon Williams, guys like Drew Eubanks, then what Chauncey Billups does is he cuts their minutes down. So now they're 28, 29 minutes instead of 37, 38 minutes. And because of that, I think, maybe Devin Vassell here would be someone that I would think about playing in a lineup or two. I don't really have a whole lot. Again, it comes down to certainty at this time of the year. And we know about Greg Popovich. If he gets up big, no idea who the hell you're going to see off of that bench. I think Zach Collins is one guy, although he had a price rise, that he could be fine here. But again, center is so deep. I don't know that I want to take that chance that instead of him, it's Landale, Jock Landale or whatever. So I think for me, this game is mostly going to be a cross-off despite the total and despite the fact that Portland gives up a ton of fantasy points. Just think there are better spots with a greater degree of certainty.
Makes sense. So if DeJounte was out, JT, though, like Keldon Johnson, would you be tempted at him? Would you play him because a massive usage bump? Or are you still just not going to mess with it?
He's got a massive price too. And yeah. I know that once this game gets to 10, 11 points, 12 points, he's coming out. He's not coming back in. As long as the Spurs win, they don't care because they're trying to get into that play-in round. So not a ton of interest there. He would be one of the guys that I would consider, but I think at that position, given the value, I don't know that it's something where I'm going to find myself there.
Makes sense. Gary, talk about this game. Talk about the DeJounte news.
Yeah, so DeJounte, obviously smash spot if he plays. I don't think I'm going to have him. He's 11-2 on DraftKings. Like JT said, I don't think this game has any chance of staying close. And even if he does sit, like Keldon Johnson, 6,900, he was in the same spot last game. He played 27 minutes. He only had a 22% usage rate. Theoretically, you should have a massive usage bump here, but I can't pay that 6,900 price tag for him. I do have a little bit of interest in Zach Collins in the blowout. I think he's going to get a little bit more blowout run here. I mean, he got it last game. I mean, obviously it might be chasing. This is a classic JT fade spot where the guy put up 40 DraftKings points in the last game. But he's only 4,100 and he's power forward and center eligible on DraftKings, which is nice. And if DeJounte sits, I mean, Trey Jones is probably going to be one of the best values on the slate. He was in the same spot last time. He put up 32 DraftKings points and nobody had him because I think it locked after the Houston game, or OKC value locked at like 804 the other night. But yeah, if DeJounte for some reason got ruled out, Trey Jones might be one of my favorite values on the slate. And on the Portland side, nobody for me. All these guys are priced up. Drew Eubanks, 7,400. I'm not playing these guys. The only guy I would have interest in that got some blowout run in the last game and played, let's see here. He played 29 minutes would be Greg Brown. He's 4,400. He's power forward and center eligible, which I like that. So you can just put him in your forward spot. Those two guys, Zach Collins, Greg Brown, and Trey Jones, if DeJounte sits, would be my only interest here.
Greg Brown's my favorite Portland guy too, because I think he's going to get about 30 minutes regardless how the game goes. So I think that makes sense. And then, yeah, Trey Jones, glad you brought that up. But as we know, anytime DeJounte's out with the backup point guard, which is Trey Jones this year, he's a solid player too. He always makes sense. So good call on that. That's why I like not going fully overboard on the first two games. You two didn't like the games nearly as much, so it's not something you have to worry about. But they lock an hour apart. DeJounte news is pretty big. We're still waiting on a couple other things. So just another reason you always think DFS. It's not just picking players. It's a chess game. You got to think about what time's locked, what your pivots are if this and that happens, what could be better plays if this guy's out, etc. So good point on the Trey Jones right there. Hit the like button for us, please. Hit the subscribe button. Bringing to you some winners on a Sunday. We appreciate it for sure. Next game on the slate, 7 p.m. Eastern. Miami Heat, Toronto Raptors, 213 total. Toronto is favored by 5.5. On the injury report for Miami, Jimmy Butler, Gabe Vincent, Dwayne Dedmon are all out. Caleb Martin is questionable. Going over to the Toronto side, Malachi Flynn and Watanabe are both questionable. Without Jimmy Butler, can we look at some people on the Heat? Max Struss, for example, 4.2K, guard and forward eligibility. I think he's interesting, but I think there are some other better value on this slate. JT, I'll head over to you again in this one. Miami and Toronto, talk about what you like.
Yeah, I mean, not a ton here, honestly. I mean, it is Kyle Lowry's first game back against the Raptors with Butler out.
I'm glad you brought that up because Mangone's not on the show. You take his spot. You have to bring up the narrative. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think if I'm not mistaken, this game is in Toronto. So he might get a nice little video, a little standing ovation.
Wait,
it might
motivate him. They have fans back? Not to interrupt again. They do have fans back? All right, because I have not watched a game at Toronto because they took it away for COVID for after everyone else. They had that period of time, and I haven't watched a Toronto game since. So they do have fans. All right, keep going.
But I don't want to I don't love these types of matchups. These two teams in particular, the Raptors. Fully healthy. They do have some incentive, although it looks like they're pretty safely ensconced out of the play-in by a couple of games right now. But still, winning, I think, would be important to them. Gary Trent looks a little bit underpriced. Shooting guards have done well against the Miami Heat. Tough slate to play him on. And then with the Heat, I think you always look to Bam Adebayo and Lowry and Herro when Jimmy Butler is out. Certainly would not play them all in the same lineup. But I think that, I didn't look at ownership on Adebayo. I do think with Cat and depending on.
It'll be low for sure.
It'll be low because in the next game, one of the next games we're going to talk about, we've got an obvious spot that I think is going to be very highly owned that we can get some leverage off of potentially. But so in terms of this game, I think that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at potentially those three guys in different lineups from the Heat and then maybe a Trent if I get there. I don't know that I will.
Makes sense. Gary, what do you see in this game?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. It's Kyle Lowry, it's Bam, it's Tyler Herro. That's it for me on the Miami side. I mean, this game, both these teams over the last 5 games, Toronto's first in defensive efficiency and Miami's 5th. So, this is going to be a real slugfest here. It's going to be a good defensive battle. I don't have, I mean, these Toronto guys, I mean, they're going to play every minute, but their prices are priced like that. So, I mean, I never played Gary Trent unless one of the other starters is out. And I'm not going to start here. I'm not going to have anybody from this game, most likely.
Yeah, it makes sense. Two teams I don't pick on too much. Obviously, Toronto's played their starters pretty much 40 minutes every single game this year, but nothing's changed too much. I think because Butler's out, the Miami side's a little more interesting. But as JT said, like this next game we're going to get to, there's some pretty clear, obvious value on this slate where I'm not sure you need to jam in a Max Truss. If you want him as a differentiator, K. Alec probably will like him. I think it makes sense that way. But next game on the slate, the game we've been talking about, the Phoenix Suns, OKC Thunder, the fourth game that locks at 7 p.m. Eastern, 221 total. Phoenix is favored by 14. Going over the Phoenix side with the injury report, Booker, Ayton, Jay Crowder, Frank the Tank, Dario Saric are all out. Booker and Ayton, obviously the big ones. Going over to the OKC side, like always, it's always a long one. SGA, Giddey, Trey Mann, Baisley, Lou Dort, Kenrich Williams, Ty Jerome, Derek Favors, Mike Muscala, all out. Poku and Jeremiah Robinson Earl are also questionable. So a lot of news in this game. Booker, Ayton, Jay Crowder, them being out. JaVale McGee, obviously, 3.8K is the center. I think JT's talking about. Even Bismack Biyombo at 3K too. Very interested to see what you guys say about both of them. If playing them together is a good way in tournaments. If you max one in MME, excited to see what you guys say about that. McGee's going to be way higher on than Bismack, obviously. And then you can go to like Torrey Craig, Cam Johnson, Cam Payne, Shamet. We've seen this situation before. So, Gary, I'm going to go to you. You cannot ignore Phoenix on the slate. How many is too many? Talk about the Bismack and the Ayton stuff. And then are you going to run it back with anybody on OKC who's been shorthanded too?
All right, yeah. So this Phoenix team, I mean, I'm still seeing 11 guys. Let me see, 11 or 12 guys with the projection here. So they still have a lot of bodies. JaVale McGee is going to be the highest owned player on the slate. He's projected to play, from what I see, 20 minutes. I don't think I can do that. I'm going to fade McGee on this slate. We know he's got the asthma or whatever. Biyombo is actually projected to play 25 minutes, and he's not going to be owned. So I'd rather play Bismack in this spot, and he's min, like he's stone minimum. We know Big T says stone men guys, the stuff that they can do for your lineups is just so much more. I think Bismack's going to crush in this spot. I still think Phoenix destroys this OKC team that's extremely thin as well. One guy that I will say that I am very cautious about, and I'm seeing a lot of ownership on him, is Cam Johnson. He's 4,600. He's coming off of an injury. He hasn't played in a while. He played 17 minutes in the last game, but yet I'm seeing a 28-minute projection on him here. I don't think there's any way that he gets even close to that 28 minutes in this game. He is a key rotation piece for this team going into the playoffs. They're not going to want to get him re-injured. I'm not playing Cam Johnson either, so I'm going to probably fade. I mean, Cam Johnson I'm looking at ownership projections, and he's up there in the top 5% owned players on the slate. I'm going to fade both McGee and Cam Johnson in this spot. I just don't trust, the minutes for Cam in this spot, like 17 straight up to 28, and he hadn't played in 2 or 3 weeks. Like, yeah, I'll pass on that. I do like some Torrey Craig in a spot at a little less ownership, though. He's projected for 26 minutes. And the OKC side, man, all these guys are priced up now. I mean, we've been playing them. We've been jamming these guys in our lineup. I can't pay 7,400 for Theo Maledon or 6,800 or 7K for Roby and Poku. Jalen Horde, he came out of nowhere in the last game. He had 20 boards in the last game. Like, man, like he was stone minimum. He's 4,700 now. I do kind of like him a little bit here. I don't think he's going to get the ownership that he probably should if he gets to start here against McGee and Biyombo. I think he can feast on the boards again. But yeah, I'm going to go take a little different approach in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I love the tournament takes from McGee's going to be popular. Cam Johnson's going to get ownership. So what you're saying, I think makes some sense for sure. And as far as, like the Horde, Jalen Horde, I got lucky. I swapped on him with like a minute left. He opened up so much, man. If he plays 40, so I think the big thing with him is the Jeremiah Robinson Earl and Poku being questionable. Because if they're both ruled out again, I expect 40 minutes again. I will play him at 4.7K. I would probably play him at 5.7K. If you're telling me a 40-minute guy who's going to be aggressive, crashing the glass and all that, when I watch him, he hit open three. Like, I was kind of impressed with what I saw. So if those two are ruled out, I think that is the important thing. Because if Poku's in, he'll probably start. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, he'll soak up some minutes. If they don't have either of those guys in the front court, sign me up for Jalen Horde for sure. JT, I'll go to you. Gary didn't like McGee as much as the field. Cam Johnson, all that stuff. Ownership's going to be in this game. You can't fully ignore Phoenix. So talk about some of your favorites. Talk about OKC.
Yeah, I'll start with OKC because this Jalen Horde guy, that was his second NBA game, right? And you talked about it. This Poku, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl news, if they're both in, just cross this entire team off, right? And so we'll see. We won't have that news. I will take what Gary said about Phoenix a step further. It strikes me exactly the same way as the situation we saw with the Pistons the other night, except the Suns don't have anything to play for because they've wrapped up the best record. They've wrapped up the number one seed. So I think that I'm going to have a pool of my lineups that are going to focus on Bismack Biyombo, Torrey Craig, and then Elf Payton at 3.9K. He played like 2 minutes the last game, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of Chris Paul. I think Campaign is fine here at 4.7 in this matchup, but I think you could see a lot of Elf Payton. So I'm going to have like 5 lineups that have 2 of those guys, Elf, Torrey Craig, or Biyombo, and focus on these other games. Because like I was talking about in that big contest, you don't want to overload on one team. Now, I'm not saying he's a core play, but I do think that Monty Williams could switch up starters, which we won't know until about a half hour before the game. And you could see much lower minutes out of these guys that are key pieces to what they think is a run to the NBA championship. So I don't expect them to waste a lot of minutes on Chris Paul or Cam Johnson or even Campaign in a meaningless game on the road in Oklahoma City.
A lot of these guys project well on Phoenix. So what you guys are saying is a contrarian take, and that's what you need. I mean, April DFS, we just saw what? Friday, I believe it was, Cade played 7 minutes or whatever, and he left, and no one ever expected that. You're going to get things all the time like this. You have to know what you're signing up for in April DFS. Find if teams are playing for something when they're not. Phoenix isn't. So I think what you guys are saying is definitely interesting on a slate like this. Wait for the Poku, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl news in this game. It is important. We got 2 games left on the slate. Before we get into the next one, though, as always, hit the like button for us. Hit the subscribe button. I'm not going to say a certain number for the likes. If you're here, we appreciate it. We appreciate if you hit it. And if you don't, that's all right anyway. Let's get into the Members Never Win segment, though. That is something we always like touching on. Starting off, D. Jones, MB, $2,000 in F1. M. Carter, 2388, $6,000 in NBA. Rookie B making cash, $10,000 in tennis. Hebrew Cheetah, $19,000 in NBA. Big T, $146,000 in PGA. And then Birdie Monster, the $220,000 of PGA. Congrats to all of you. I see F1, tennis, so many sports. We always talk about it. Masters coming up, UFC, NASCAR's going on right now, NBA, playoff, MLB coming up. So much going on. Head over to Run Pure Sports. Check it out. If you are a member, get in the Discord. I always talk about it's my favorite part. If you want to be on that Members Never Win segment, drop your screenshots in the Members Never Win segment in Discord, and you can possibly get on this. So congrats to all the winners. Let's keep it going today. RPS Go, Coach, Bart, NBA Live, Wayne, Kevin, all you guys in chat. We appreciate it. Hit that like, hit that subscribe for us. But 2 games left on the slate. The Golden State Warriors, Sacramento Kings. This game locks at 9 p.m. Eastern. 222 total. Golden State is favored by 5. On the injury report for Golden State, Clay, Draymond, Otto Porter, Iguodala, all doubtful. Steph and Wiseman are ruled out. As far as the Kings, Fox, Sabonis, Terrence Davis, Rashawn Holmes, all out. Alex Len is questionable. That's a lot of guys on both teams, guys that matter. Jordan Poole, 8.1K. The price is up there, but it's warranted for sure. His role is very big. Gary Payton, 3.9. Curious to see what you guys say about that. And then Damian Jones on the Kings. Man, what a games he's had back-to-back. 6.6K. JT, I see you laughing, so I'll go over to you. Centers loaded, 6.6K for Damian Jones. It's a no for me, but can't ignore what he's been doing. Talk about this whole game.
No, but just like we talked about the Rockets, those games were against the Kings. The games the Kings played were against the Rockets. And I'm just not going to go there. I'm going to bet that regression is going to come. But one guy I'm not going to bet on regression is Jordan Poole, Michael Jordan. I mean, what this guy is doing, he's shooting nearly 50% from three-point range. He's taking most nights between 12 and 15 three-point shots. He's taking 20 shots a game, even when Klay Thompson and Draymond are on the court, like last night, 22 shots. And this is one of the friendliest matchups in the NBA. So even at that price point, I think Jordan Poole is in play. I think you can look at Gary Payton. I don't know how deep I want to go on this Warriors team because Steve Kerr will go deep in his bench with this Warriors team. And then the pricing on the other side for the Kings, again, you'll see what 2 games against the Rockets can do for you. 6,600 for Damian Jones. Davion Mitchell's price did come down. He is playing a ton of minutes, and I think he is potentially playable on this slate. I don't know that I'm going to do it, but $6K for DiVincenzo, some of these other price points, I'm going to be completely out on the Sacramento Kings.
One worry I have a little bit with Davion Mitchell, and I don't worry about individual matchups too much, but I think Gary Payton, that's one guy I do look at a little bit. I think Gary Payton and Davion Mitchell, I think they match up probably against each other. 2 really good defenders, just everything. That worries me a little bit with Mitchell because of the price. But I don't think the ownership's really going to be there too much. So, Gary, head over to you. I mean, JT's talking about Sacramento, Houston, how bad both of them are. You can pick on them. Are you going to some Warriors? Talk about Poole. Talk about this game.
Yeah, so I think it's just Poole for me. Like JT said, I mean, he's just been incredible. Even with Klay on the court last game, he had a 38% usage rate, 50 DraftKings points. And now you're telling me all these guys are out. Like, sign me up against the Kings. We just saw what Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. did against this team. So he will likely be a core piece for me tonight. But yeah, it's very tough to trust Steve Kerr and his rotations. Kuminga is going to pop a lot. Peyton's going to pop a lot. I don't know if I'm going to go there. I just prefer other value on the slate. And on the Kings side, like Davion, I mean, he's been doing everything for this team. I do prefer him on FanDuel. He's 7,200 on FanDuel, but everybody's cheaper on FanDuel. You can play whoever you want over there. So, but yeah, definitely prefer him over there. And I will be passing on everybody else from Sacramento here. So yeah, it's just Poole or bust for me for the most part.
Poole or bust for Gary, mainly for JT too. Last game on the slate, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, New Orleans Pelicans, Los Angeles Clippers, 222.5 total. Clippers are favored by 1.5. On the Clippers side, Kawhi's still out, Norm Powell's still out, Brandon Boston, Preston, JSURab all out. Going over to the Pelicans side, Zion's still out, Kira Lewis still out. So nothing big changes for the Clippers. Brandon Ingram, 8.2K, Reggie Jackson, 6.3K. Those are 2 names I'll throw to you, Gary. Any interest in them? Anybody else in this game?
Yeah, so I mean, man, I am not paying those prices for these Clippers after that game, that craziest game that I've ever seen. I mean, Robert Covington's 6,800 now on DraftKings. I mean, man, he made 11 threes, 670 some FanDuel points, DK points. I mean, I'll pass here. I do, however, think Paul George might be a little bit sneaky on the slate. I mean, he's definitely going to be sneaky. He's 9,900. He's had a 40% usage rate in both games he's played. He looks pretty good out there. I mean, he's shooting the ball. This is definitely not a matchup I'm afraid of, even with her probably chasing him around all game. I likely won't get there. I play one lineup, so he's definitely in my pool. I don't think I'm going to get to him, but I definitely like him. He's the only Clipper I have interest in. And on the New Orleans side, really the only guy that I have interest in is Brandon Ingram. He's 8,200. I think that's too cheap. He's been too cheap the last few matchups. Great matchup for him here. Joe Val has been crushing. I mean, I looked at his game log today when I was doing the playbook, and I'm like, man, 46, 46, 43, 45, 61, 50. I mean, he's just been crushing. 8,600. I guess he's in play. I just like other centers on this slate. But yeah, so Ingram, Joe Val, and maybe Paul George would be in my pool.
JT, head over to you. What do you like in this game?
I'll start with the Pelicans because this is an important game for them. They haven't clinched the play-in yet. And, you know, they have San Antonio behind them and then the Lakers 1 game behind them. So especially if the Lakers win this afternoon, which they were competing when I looked a little bit ago. I think this is an important game where you could see big minutes out of Jonas Valanciunas in a very good matchup. You are going to see big minutes out of CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram. So those guys are the guys I'm interested in there. With the Clippers, I have no idea, because 2 weeks ago, Ty Lue came out and said minutes restrictions on Reggie Jackson, on Marcus Morris, and then about 3 games later, Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris each played close to 40 minutes. In a game against the Bulls, that really didn't matter a whole lot. The one thing I'll say is this is a home game for the Clippers. They have not treated their home fans to very good basketball this season. They now have Paul George healthy, who they are trying to get ready for the playoffs. And if he's got a 32-minute limit, and they're going to try and win this game maybe to, push the Pelicans down a little bit, send a message, whatever it is, then I think you can play it that way. You can also play it in a way that, okay, this game means nothing, and completely wipe them out. So I am going to multi-enter on this slate. And some lineups, I am going to have Marcus Morris, who I think is too cheap at 4,900 in this matchup. If he gets 36 minutes, he's going to go nuts. We're talking about edge in a late NBA season slate. And I'll have some Paul George and some Reggie Jackson because, again, a home game, and they have an opportunity to push the Pelicans down. This game doesn't mean anything to them because they're in the play-in, but Ty Lue's like not a rational human being. So he might play some of these guys 37, 38 minutes, even though just 2 weeks ago, he told us he wasn't going to do that. But we know that he's full of shit. So that's the way I'm going to play it.
Yeah, it's Ty Lue. I don't even know if he knows what he's doing going into this game. So if you get those minutes, you'll be happy you played them. If you didn't, you're probably not cashing. It's a risk-reward thing. You got to know what you're getting into it with the Clippers. See Robert in chat. Yeah, Robert's saying Clay out, Malik Beasley out, Rondo is playing. News is starting to come in. A lot of that we expected. But head into Discord. If there's news that you're not expecting, you can always find the news in Discord or on Twitter. Underdog's the account that does very well that all of us have notifications on. So that's how we keep up with the news, and Discord will break it all down too. That is all 8 games on the slate, though. Didn't ask for a number, so you guys are going to get to the plays of the day. But first, I wanted to shout out RPS GOAT. He said, I hit 1K in MLB spring training the other day. Look at that. Spring training. We got people printing in chat. Congrats to you, RPS GOAT. That is awesome. Getting ready for the season. Hopefully those hits continue. So I wanted to shout out you for that. And then we have a promo code from Underdog, just talking about Underdog. And it's for the best ball and all that stuff. If you have not made a deposit over there yet, you can use the promo code RUNPEER and they'll match up to $100 deposit bonus. I believe the MLB best balls are still up. I'm not sure if they're going to overlay. I personally am drafted out. I always do 150 of those NFL ones. That's enough once a year grinding out those. So I'm not in the baseball one, but they have baseball, they have NFL, they have NBA, all those best balls over there. So it's a really cool site. Throw $100 on them, match it with $100 using the promo code RUNPEER. Time for the plays of the day, though. Gary, going to head over to you. The Braves homer play of the day. Who do you got for us?
Yeah, so mine's kind of a 3-pronged approach of this play of the day. My play of the day is going to be Bismack Biyombo at min price for Phoenix. And attached to that, that means I'm fading completely 2 of the highest owned players on the slate, JaMale McGee and Cam Johnson.
Look at that. Gary giving out some winners. Bismack Biyombo, the Braves homer play of the day. I'll go to myself, the SO play of the day. I'm going to go with someone that I see 10%, roughly right around there, coming off the bench too, which people don't love to play. I'm going with Emmanuel Quickly on the Knicks, 5.4K on DraftKings, 5.1K on FanDuel. Played 30 minutes last game. I don't see why he wouldn't play the minutes when the Knicks had nothing to play for, a young body. If you look at the past 5 games, he shot double-digit attempts in 4 of those 5. He's got a lot of upside. He's a hooper. He can get hot. He can fill it up quick. Emmanuel Quickly, the SO play of the day. JT, the Eiffel Tower play of the day. Cap it off for us.
Yeah, well, first of all, we got some news with the Warriors on guys listed out, but don't be fooled. Steve Kerr hates the general public, looks down on you. Just because he didn't rule out Draymond Green doesn't mean that he won't do it 5 minutes before tip-off. So be very careful.
Or a couple minutes after tip-off.
Exactly. Be very careful with the Warriors. And then look, I was going to go with Busy Biyombo. So props to Gary. He's going to absolutely smash. Means I can't go with Busy Biyombo. I'm not going to go with Elf Payton, even though I think he is a sleeper here on this slate. I'm going to go with Jonas Valanciunas. The Pelicans have to win. He's going to absolutely abuse Ivica Zubac. I think he can abuse Isaiah Hartenstein too. Earlier in this season, I think it was, he went for 70 fantasy points against this Clippers team. I think he gets it done here on the road, keeps going. The price is high. The ownership will be very, very low in a loaded center position. I think he could be a difference maker tonight.
I like it for sure. Those are the 3 plays of the day. In YouTube chat too. Aiden Jones said Sengun or Roby on DK. Thanks. I would go Sengun in that question personally. I think they are both overpriced, though. I think there are some better options, but Sengun over Roby for me in that question. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. If you're not a member, head over to Run Pure Sports. Check it out. You will definitely enjoy it. You can check it out for a week, a month. See if you like it. Hopefully get some winners from us. RPS GOAT, congratulations again. Coach, Robert, Richie Smalls, West Coast, everyone watching, we appreciate it. Sunday, 8-game slate, time to pick some winners. We'll be in Discord up to lock as always. Cash chart playbook, core plays going to be up. MLB, less than a week away. Excited for that. A lot going on over here. That's going to do it for us. Hope you all have a great night. For Gary, JT, Simon Behind the Sticks, I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.